infection. So people that have chlamydia or gonorrhea, one of those already, and then coming in contact with HIV, because transmission rate is only about 1 in 1,000 for HIV. So, in theory, you could have sex with an HIV positive person 1,000 times, and only one of those chances would you actually contract it. Whereas when you have a concurrent infection, chlamydia, gonorrhea, what have you, your rate goes from 1 in 1,000 to about 1 in 20. So your chances go up 500% because your body's immune system is already compromised fighting off this other infection. People don't think about that when they think about STDs. HIV is actually kind of hard to get, but when you have something else going on, it becomes relatively easy. That's why we try to advocate not just HIV testing, but testing for other STIs and STDs, especially for women, because when you go in for your annual, it's not a guarantee that your doctor is going to do that kind of testing unless you specifically ask for it. With guys, your likelihood is even less because it's not something that the average primary care physician would really think about.
Did the Whitman Walker Clinic have any programs directed towards sex workers that you know of?
Not that I know of specifically for sex workers. There's, if people show that they have a need for something, and, we see it sometimes just based on looking at their questionnaire or based on the conversation that we have with them when they come in, then we can refer them out to services, but I don't know that we actually target that demographic specifically.
Do you think it would be important for the Whitman Walker Clinic to have a role, or is it, like you're saying, social services more of their responsibility to take that on?
No, we're a federally qualified health center. We're a community health clinic. It's absolutely part of our position to look out for the health of every resident of the district, whether they do a socially approved behavior or not. It's our job as a community health center.
My name is Johnson Cadet. My name is Johnson Cadet. I work at the Maryland Food Co-op. And they asked me to answer some questions, so I'm doing it right now. Okay.
Alright, so Johnson, what stereotypes did you grow up with about sex workers?
Okay, the type of stereotype I grew up as sex workers is like sometimes you're thinking like, okay, being a sex worker is very bad. It's just like because sometimes they work for the money, but which is it can be bad and good at the same time. But the problem is some people they really actually need the money, and then you have to go behind the scene what they have to do, what they have to do. You know what I'm saying? That's the stereotype I grew up with.
Okay. Do you think sex work should be illegal?
I think it should be illegal because they're providing a service. I'm sorry, they're providing a service, and I think like many things. There's so many things in this country that are illegal, but they should be legal. Because sometimes, let's say, figure it out for an instance, it's like a sex worker call a guy and then they beat her up and stuff and they take her money and then they can't report it because they're right off being violated, but because they're doing something illegal. So there's so many abuses they can't even report. So if it was legal, and then it's so funny in United States, some states it's legal, in Nevada and Las Vegas it's legal, they have their license and all that kind of stuff, but some of the states like Maryland it is illegal. And then it's illegal to have sex for money, but it's legal just like to have pornography, to have sex, but you're filming it. But what's the point of that? It's just like it's I don't understand it. But I believe it should be legal.
Okay, and do you think sex workers should have human rights?
I mean, the humans. Whatever you do, right or wrong, you have to have your human rights. You know what I'm saying? It's just like someone do something bad, you have to miranderize them. It's just like you have their rights. You have to have an attorney, a law, and all that kind of stuff. But why would it be different for sex workers? You know, they should have their human rights. But before they can get their human rights, you have to be legal. You know what I'm saying? It's a different type of currency. Yeah.
Lucas, and I'm a student at University of Maryland.
Okay, cool. So, Lucas, what stereotypes did you grow up with about sex workers?
My family was all from Spain, where and like my parents both grew up in like during a fascist dictatorship, so they grew up in kind of this like more closed off society. So like there was like a lot that couldn't go on. I think during that whole time, and I think that like once like the dictatorship ended and like a lot of like these social just like interactions started coming out more, like they being like very liberal definitely accepted it. So I definitely grew up in like an accepting like mindset, and there weren't really many stereotypes about anything like other than just like them being, you know, sex workers being definitely totally human.
Okay, so with that, do you think sex workers, the sex worker industry should be legal?
I think definitely. I think that like other industries, it should be regulated also. You know, I think that it's just it is never something you're gonna stop. Just like, you know, like drugs or anything. It's like I think it only makes sense to legalize it, and because I think it relates even like a lot to the prohibition times when alcohol was legal, but all politicians like, you know, like dealt alcohol and like drink alcohol. Like politicians are like notorious for like having prostitutes or like fucked up like situations, and like if it's good enough for them, I think it should be good enough for everybody.
And lastly, do you think sex workers should have human rights?
I think definitely. I like. That's so scary to think that you could be putting yourself totally out there, exposing yourself, and you know, they would have no one to back you or